Well, you better get a thick skin quick if you're going to do this business, especially if you're going to go after political commentary or whatever it is. And back in like October, November, especially they were like, "You're a traitor." I was like, "Oh man, I want to find this guy." I'd spend 3 days looking up this person. Now, like I get talked about on Candace Owens almost daily. I just had a genuine Russian asset propagandist, anti-American propagandist, pro-Russian, pro-Putin propagandist go on Tucker Carlson and just slander the crap out of me. And it's just like, now it's just a Thursday. And you just like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna quit? You're gonna make them let you quit?
No, you make them make you tons of money. Duh.
Like
if you're gonna run down my good Wilson name, I might as well make a fortune reacting and messing with you. I mean, right? Doesn't that seem fair?
No.
I mean, it seems totally fair to me. If you're going to take your time to attack me, then I might as well make a ton of money off of your stupidity. That's the way I feel about it.
I completely.
I'm saying,
agree.
so I know it's a very pragmatic approach, but it's like, well, if you're going to try to run me through the muck, I'm going to have a lot of fun at your expense. So I'm just saying.
No, 100%. Speaking of which, I do have a couple of super chats, and some of these people are wanting. And I know you get like little $5 super chats. Over here, we're big money. We're big money. Hold on, not that one. No, that was
No. That's my favorite one. No soup for Knowles.
Right here.
She's my biggest
awesome.
fan. She's my biggest fan, by the way. She loves me. She told me in DM, she was like, "You are so great, Andrew. You're not a misogynistic at all. In fact, you're so nice to women, and I just adore you." And I was like, you shouldn't have no soup for Knowles. That's such a nice thing to say. And she was like, "I know, I'm a really sweet person. I swear I promise that's what happened. You believe me, right?"
100%.
Yeah,
no,
100%.
Britta is great. She definitely doesn't like you, but God bless her. Patriot Lady says it's clear Candace Owens seeks validation through gobs of money and millions of followers, even if they are fake. Due to moral failing, she will do and say anything to get it. A reckless, insatiable desire for vengeance and her love of money and power are the roots of her evils, allegedly.
I think people really get this wrong as far as motivation goes, which is why I generally think you shouldn't speak to motivation, because it's very difficult unless you have a significant interpersonal relationship with a person to actually speak to their motivations about things. It's actually difficult to do, especially when they're doing things like streaming or their TV personality or things like this. You can misunderstand various things very quickly because you're not part of their interpersonal dynamic. I think what actually is happening more than anything is that imagine that you have the ability to just crush anybody you want whenever you want, and it's justified. Just imagine that. Like, it's just always justified to just close your fist and this person's completely annihilated. Well, that's the kind of power that is in this person's hand at the moment. And it's not even a matter of whether you use it responsibly, not using it whatever, right? The fact of the matter is that creates a kind of a powerful centralized entity, which can just go, well, I'm justified in doing bad thing. Here's bad thing. You are now crushed. That type of thing can be very intoxicating for people. And I'm not sure that it's a matter of vengeance. I'm not sure if it's a matter of evil doing. I fully believe that Candace Owens believes that she's completely justified in what it is that she does and thinks she's doing a great service for all of humanity. She believes that she's a warrior on the front line of truth and that she's doing everything she can possibly do for that. And ultimately, the ends justify the means. If it's the case that I need to lie the entire time, so what? As long as we get to the truth, the lies were then justified. Everything is justified through the prism of I'm running an investigation. If you need to be doxxed, your family needs to be doxxed. You need to go away. You become a problem for this investigation. You yourself become part of the investigation, whether you like it or not. And so whether that's even intentional or not is very difficult to say. But it is, in fact, the case that is what's happening. And that's so from my perspective, it's like, I'm not sure what makes her tick, and neither are any of you. And I don't think you should even particularly speculate on what's making them tick, only what is actually factually happening, regardless of why or whatever the psychology is behind it. That is indeed what's happening currently.
Yeah. I mean, trying to figure out motivations is always an exercise in futility. the thing that I look at or try to talk to my audience about is like you got to look at the trajectory of what they're doing and what they're saying. And it's like, okay, I don't care what your motivation is. This is where we're headed. This is where you're taking the country. And one of the big issues that I have with Candace is that she has completely undermined the idea of critical thinking in general. And the the level at which that has happened, the amount of people and Americans that she has exposed for being just so damn gullible is pretty shocking to me.
Do you think that it's funny. When I try to think about these things at scale. So at scale, you and I are very, very small fish, right? You could be a huge social media star and still be a very, very small fish in the kind of larger scheme of things.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so I get recognized basically everywhere I go. That's true, but people aren't running over like they would Johnny Depp to just like take a piece of me so that they have it as a souvenir, right? It's all scalable. And so when I kind of take the bird's eye view, I recognize that it is true that Owens has, 50, 60, 70,000 nightly viewers, but she's not the only one. It depends on what you're looking at and which field you're looking in. When it comes to this kind of like drama stuff, yeah, she gets high viewership in that arena. But the internet's a much wider place than people think. And there's other channels I can point to that have hundreds of thousands of live viewers.
Sure.
Right. And this is in fact the case. So it's interesting when you look at the scalability of it, you realize, is it really the case that most Americans are gullible to this? Or is it really the case that most Americans don't give a shit? They just don't care. They think, well, who cares? They don't care about it, right? They get up in the morning, they get their coffee, and away they go. And it's interesting because when I look at the online field versus Main Street, if you were to believe X, every single Republican that Trump nominated to be elected, they should have lost their primaries. And all of them won, in fact, all of their primaries. So the reflection from Main Street to online politics doesn't always carry over, though it does sometimes carry over, right? And there is at least some influence there for sure. And so I just think it's interesting. It's like I'm not willing to throw the American people under the bus or say that most of them are stupid or most of them fall for conspiracies or things like this. I think ultimately that's actually not the case. I think that the people who are drawn to that, they look for it, just like people who are drawn to like only and corn and things like that. They go looking for that stuff, right? There's no doubt that people go looking for conspiracy style content. I do myself. There's a great show, for instance, called The Y-Files. I watch all the time.
Yeah,
I think it's a great show. It's fantastic. And I went looking for that content because when I do long drives, I like to listen to it. I think it's fun, right? I just think it's fun. But that doesn't mean I'm going to eliminate all rationality either, right? So I don't actually know that it's much of a reflection of Main Street America. I don't know. And the amount of DMs I've gotten from people who are the like quote quiet observers, these are the people who you never see comment, the people who really don't say much. Got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them who were like, what is this chick you were just talking to? Is she stupid or something? It's like they didn't even get it. They were just like, what? Why is this a major thing? She just sounds like an idiot. She just, she's not telling you anything. She's super evasive. What's even going on here? So I'm not sure, right? Like I'm not to the point where I can parse out exactly how much overlap there really is.
Yeah, no, look, I've mentioned many times, I think her real support is less than 1% of the population ultimately. And, one of the things I talked about regularly, like there is a huge delta between the perceptions created on X, especially versus reality. And we saw that with Thomas Massey. Like if you'd been looking at X, Thomas Massey was just going to crush many other candidates. Here we have Bilzerian. Who were some of the other ones down there? Fishback. And of course they were just absolute. They lost. They were losers, right? I mean, big time, or as Trump would say, bigly. But yeah, no, that is true. I guess I was taken aback, and maybe it's just out of naivete, and I still am to some extent, at how many people will defend this. And there again, it's like,
How many of them are even real, though?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, 100%. But there is a push to, even in the last, I don't know, 50 plus years, we've had this moral relativism that has turned into almost to this reality relativism, where it's my truth, my reality, and that's a real danger. And that's how I do think that this country is lost. And what I've always said is I'm not worried about Candace. Candace is just the current mascot for this op, and Tucker Carlson and many others. It's what comes after them, because I think this is just the beta test. It's like, what happens when there's somebody more believable, that is more charismatic, that is
Well, what
more
happened after
sophisticated.
QAnon?
Well, I think what happened after QAnon was Candace Owens, and this is definitely a much better op than QAnon. I will
I don't
say that.
know. Is it? The QAnon also, if you remember, it took the country by storm. For instance, Lionel Media, he's a QAnon guy. That's where he got his start, right? He got his big breakout following QAnon with the Q updates and the Q tips and all of the various Q stuff.
They're Q
What was in,
drops.
yeah, the Q drops. What was interesting about that is that right-wing media basically ignored that for the most part. Left-wing media focused on it, and we just thought it was hilarious, right? Most people on Main Street thought it was kind of funny. It helped usher in Trump, and Trump very much got ushered in the first time based mostly on memes and the fact that the American public was so pissed off at the establishment, they wanted somebody to go in and basically throw a hand grenade into it. That was what the whole point of Trump's first administration was. Michael Moore pointed this out very astutely, that Trump is a hand grenade for the working class, and his entire job is to go in there and cause as much havoc as possible for our amusement. And that's exactly what he did, right? It was great. But as long as Q was on that side of the memes, we were kind of fine with him. But then what happens when the memes switch over the other direction and the conspiracy switch over the other direction and the left is feeding them? I think that we're seeing a direct effect of the distinction IQ between conservatives and progressives. Progressives do generally have a higher IQ on average than conservatives. A lot of people don't know that, but it is in fact the case. It's part of what makes progressives so crazy, in fact, is because they have higher IQs, and oftentimes that's correlated with mental illness for various reasons, not the least of which being the rejection of God and the idea of nihilism. But we do have a problem there on both Main Street and in the online medium of a lot of our base. Well, not a lot. It's not an overly significant amount, but it's enough, are actually extremely gullible and will fall for a lot. Like, that is a problem, and it is more unique to the right than it is the left. And that is something that we're going to have to contend with at some point.
Yeah, the left is indivisible. Like, they're going to vote blue no matter who. They're more. I don't even, I really have come to believe that voter fraud is much more rampant than any of us really realize. But with that being said, I do believe that there's this quiet majority that has always existed. I still believe our country is, center right. But for whatever reason, we are definitely not as motivated as politically. And a lot of it's because, again, we're focused on our families, we're focused on our jobs, our careers. We're actually, somebody's got to pay for all the free things. So, that is part of the challenge. And I do think that also, like, we got to get more people like you and other people out there willing to fight online as well. This is
well, we've been
ground game's
focusing on that for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
Right now, right this second as we speak, you will find dozens and dozens of people from the Crucible community who are doing debates all across the internet right this second. They're either doing debates on YouTube, they're doing debates on TikTok, they're doing debates basic in person, even all over the internet. It's being covered. We're challenging them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of the platform, which is why we got a foothold in TikTok to begin with. They're constantly being challenged there now, and they hate it. One of the reasons TikTokers just loathe me, they loathe me so badly that Jubilee tried to set up a roundtable, and all the TikTokers said no. They said, no, we're not doing a debate with Andrew Wilson. No way. And it's because their spaces have been invaded now. So I do think that there is a lot of merit in online warfare against the left, especially online political warfare. And that debate is a weapon of choice for that particular type of warfare. But there's also the demonstration warfare, which is you have political commentators and things like this, which are reacting and they're explaining how these various political ideas work and running them through various mental prisms so that the audience understands what's going on. So our mission is very simple. It's always been the same: stop the left. That's it. That's always been the mission. It's never been anything more than that. Stop the left. And by, whatever means we possibly can, that's exactly what we do within the confines of legality and morality, right? Now, they don't use those same confines. They'll do immoral things and illegal things all the time. They don't care, right? But we do. So we still legitimately beat them in all of these arenas. And I do think that's important. But what I don't see on the political commentary side, it's very easy for people because they're moving towards this idea of you need clicks because you have to stay in business, right? So sensationalism for the right is just as necessary as it is for the left. When the left runs these big media promos and the left will say, Donald Trump is going to take away, women's rights and put them back in the kitchen or whatever. It's all sensationalism nonsense, but it brings in the clips. The right-wing news commentary community does the exact same thing in reverse, right? Look at this, Democrats are going to take away your blah, 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 and we're going to cover it tonight at 9. It's like, and then they get to the story and you go, wait a second, none of that's even happening. So the dishonesty transcends the right or the left.
Sure.
And the truth is that the commentary community and the debate kind of community that comes out of social media, both of them are going to have to move towards more honest ways to do business, or else the new media is going to be just as untrusted as the old media.